have John Velasco with us today he's the assistant coach at Temple University, assistant soccer coach, I should say. Thank you so much for being with us and welcome to the Soccer Ladder.
I love it. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited. Yeah.
We started the Soccer Ladder because I'm a mom, I'm a soccer mom. Liam's on this journey. He's in his first year with Red Bull Academy. So it's an amazing journey, but there's so much to learn and navigate. So, what better is it to talk to coaches and players and people that know this journey? So we're so thankful that you're here with us today.
No, thanks. It's awesome. Liam, are you loving it so far?
Yes, it is like a dream come true, basically.
I love that.
Is he loving the podcast or the soccer?
Soccer and the podcast, both. Say both.
Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah, no, you love playing for
Yeah.
you love your soccer. So before we dive into some questions, can you tell us about your soccer journey? Like where you grew up, where you played, your background?
So yeah, I was born in Plainfield, and I started playing at a young age, like most soccer players, 3, 4 years old. My first club team, if I remember the story correctly, my parents would say we were at a park. My older brother was playing, and there was a team, just kind of kicking the ball around, and my dad had asked the coach, "Hey, can he play?" And the coach was like, "He's too young. How old is he? He's 4. He's too young." It was a U6 team, and I got to play. He saw me kick the ball around. He's like, okay, maybe he could, try a little bit. And it was actually the North Plainfield Fire Dragons. So this was like a local little club team. And yeah, but that's where it started. I started playing there. Like most stories, uh, we were playing a team. One of the teams identified me, and I kind of moved up the ladder, the soccer ladder that way. And yeah, so from then we didn't have academies back then. We didn't have what now, the Red Bull have, Columbus Crew, Philly Union. Well, we didn't even have the academy structure yet. What it used to be was a point system where you would play in tournaments, and you would have flights, and if you did well, you'd be promoted a flight, kind of like promotion relegation. And so, yeah, so basically, to make it kind of short, um, I'm sure you guys have heard of MatchFit or PDA, Players Development Academy. Those were the clubs that I ended up at, and went to go play college at a Division II school, at East Stroudsburg in the Pocono. So yeah, it was interesting growing up. I got to do the whole Region 1 youth national team experience. So it was really really cool as a kid growing up.
That is super cool. What position did you play?
I was a center attacking mid, so I was a little bit creative.
Wow, I love that. I feel like that's such a unique role, like a special role. Yeah. Lee, what position do you play?
Play center back. So,
Okay. How do you like that?
uh, I love it. I mean,
You must be tough.
yeah.
He's yeah, I would say I don't know how to describe it. He's physical, but not in a way where he's like, rough or like pushing, he's not doing anything wrong, but you definitely use your body very well. Like you use your size and
hmm
he's very aggressive, I would say.
It's great. Yeah, I mean, I think most center backs have to be.
Yeah, right. So, was your goal to go on and play in college or
I think like any young kid, you dream to play professionally. I certainly did have some opportunities. I was 15 years old. My parents are Ecuadorian. I'm first generation American. Um, so we didn't know the landscape of being recruited, let alone how the soccer system worked here. But I was 15 when I first got a contract from a first division team in Ecuador. Um, That, however, my father was like, no way, you got to go to school. Opportunities will arise. Um, but of course, I wanted to play. Those opportunities didn't um, didn't happen as frequently anymore. And I ended up getting a little injury, and it kind of changed my trajectory. And so I still love the game. I just wasn't um, as impactful as I was before. So that was definitely a setback as a kid, but at the same time, my path just kind of geared in a different direction, and I was okay with that. So yeah, I mean, I did want to play. I got to play at a great Division II school. I didn't know anything about it at the time because I was still flirting with Division I and getting over this injury. The recruiting process in college is crazy. I didn't know about it, but I ended up at East Stroudsburg University, and it was such a great experience.
Wow, that's very impressive. I
Yeah.
feel like who does know about like the journey? You know what I mean? Like as you're going through it. I think, being able to speak with you today is going to be like so helpful for so many listeners and parents like on the journey of like kids being recruited for college or going pro. I mean, since we're having this conversation, we're a little, we're going to jump around a little, but how much has US soccer changed since you were young?
Oh man, a lot, a lot. I think from a standpoint of being identified, from a standpoint of having opportunities to play at a high level, U.S. Soccer has really done a great job in providing resources to help that. You know, when I was playing, and even before I was playing, again, there was no academy system, let alone Major League Soccer. You know, stadium specific, soccer specific stadiums. You know, so the infrastructure has been fantastic within U.S. Soccer and the MLS. The opportunities, again, identifying the identification of players is massive. Um, the just the amount of staff that you have right at the academy system, a head coach, an assistant coach, maybe a performance coach. You know, so it's done such a great job in providing opportunities. You know, I think even before when I played, um, it took some luck. It took some luck to be seen and recruited or scouted to play high level soccer. But there's so much soccer nowadays. Again, the academies that you guys play against. How cool is that to watch? It's just a different level, right?
Yeah.
It is really cool. I mean, yesterday, big news came out that a kid, 16 years old, plays on Red Bull, is possibly going to AC Milan, right? I know Red Bull does a really good job with it, and I'm sure a lot of academies do, but the homegrown players, just the opportunity, like for these kids to, sign younger and younger. What is your philosophy or, what's your viewpoint on kids signing younger or going to college to play? Like, what's your kind of look at that?
Yeah, so the wonderful thing is there's a pathway for everyone, and everyone is different, right? And I think, first of all, as players and as young players that are aspiring to play at the next level, we have to remember that, right? But what I would say is it's amazing. It's just amazing to have this, uh, you know, this type of support and structure to help guide these young players in going overseas. Again, when we think about signing younger players, don't forget that each club, this is nothing new to them. There's still a development structure at these clubs where it's emotional, it's psychological, psychosocial. So to go to AC Milan, you know, as a young kid, experience a different culture, the club really does a good job of not only bringing your parents with you. That's a choice most times, you know. And then school, teaching you the culture, teaching you so much more about it. So I think it's great. I mean, I think, selfishly, I would want our country to win the World Cup at some point, and the more exposure we have and getting kids to play at top clubs, I think is a benefit to this country. But again, I think, and maybe Liam, you know this, maybe you dream about being a soccer player someday and, playing for, in front of thousands and thousands of people. And with that, there's also challenges, right? And right now you're at the academy system. You're in a different environment, a competitive environment. And I'm sure you see challenges on a day-to-day basis, but we have to remember it's like this is awesome. I get to do this, right? Like I get to do this. So I love it. I love every single bit of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think
Mhm.
it's definitely a blessing. Like we take nothing for granted. And, every day you have to like show up and get out there and work hard. But like you are saying, the support system and I can only speak from the academy standpoint because that's all I know. But I think Red Bulls, has a lot of support and an amazing structure.
How'd you get into coaching?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like I said before, my soccer journey kind of ended, so I wanted to practice law or go into some sort of physical therapy. Very different, right? I mean, two different spectrums, very different. But what ended up happening at East Stroudsburg, our coach was a military veteran. He was in Vietnam, in the Vietnam War, and just a stoic gentleman, tough for sure. Regimented standards were high, and I just remember one day, he's like, "Hey," he's like, they called me Johnny. Hey Johnny, he's like, this summer we need some of the guys to help coach some high school teams and help out. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm free, no problem. Now, my parents, my father, I come from a soccer background. Both sides played soccer. Some played professionally. My father was a coach. My brother's a coach. I just didn't know that I was going to be a coach, but it was that summer. I worked with a freshman high school boys team, and they were so bad. They were so bad, but they were so great. No, but they were so great. Like they wanted to learn, and I admired that, and I don't know what it was, but maybe I was like, I've never seen soccer this bad, but the kids were so great.
And they were like eager, probably, right?
Yeah, and I think from a competitive standpoint, I wanted to help. I wanted to be like, let's get these kids, working together, playing well, and that's kind of how it was fostered. Those opportunities, and as I continued to grow and network and meet more coaches, a lot of people helped me and encouraged me along the way. They thought I was good at communicating with people, making people feel at ease, and bringing us, some sort of knowledge to them that they could translate onto the field was something that for me was pretty cool.
So you've coached high school. I believe you were at Columbus Crew, one of our rivals. um, Now you're at college. How is coaching different at every level?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been lucky enough to be at every level, from high school, Division 3, 2, 1. My time in the pros was awesome. I got to learn a lot. I was on the support staff with the first team, worked with the academy with the reserve players on the first team. Um, but the level changes. I mean, from a technical standpoint, it's high school, right? High school club, into college. Tactically, um, and more so learning the tactics in college is something that's a big part of it, especially at Division 3 level. That's massive. And then at the Division 1 level, it really is about becoming an 360 athlete, not just a player. And what I mean by that is understanding coachability. Coachability is not just saying yes to your coach, but at that level is getting an objective as a player and being able to fulfill that objective. And the athlete portion is learning traits and habits, while the player portion is just going out there playing, having fun. It's the athlete is the attitude. It's what your ethos, which means like what you're about. So creating that athlete for the Division 1 level is really significant getting to the pro level. There's so many good players, but the ones that treat themselves right, the ones that take care of themselves, the ones who come from a well and healthy holistic approach tend to have a chance at the higher level because it's cutthroat. It's very cutthroat at the pro level. So having mechanisms to help you cope with the tough times, the stressing of not playing or an injury or a setback. The more mechanisms you have, the better off you are to have a chance to play and sustain a pro level career.
For sure. So when you say a holistic approach, do you mean like kids that are eating well, like their nutrition, taking care of their body and rest?
Yeah, I mean, but it also has to be enjoyable, right? It has to be enjoyable.
Like a love and a passion.
Yeah, yeah, and I think any time that you work with young kids who are maturing, going into, let's say, U16, then college, U17, U18 to college, they still have to love it. And you want to be in an environment where it's competitive, where you can challenge yourself, but that there's people also looking out for you. And part of that is they're making sure that you're well taken care of physically, emotionally, mentally. But it's a fine balance because at the end of the day, you also want to succeed. You want to play. So I think when you have players who have that athlete's approach of taking care of themselves, they have a better chance of making it to the next level, whether it's the U15 academy team or the collegiate team or the pro level.
Have you ever encountered during your coaching career a kid that might just be super talented but just has the worst attitude? And like, how do you handle that?
Yeah, so to answer your question, yeah, I've encountered that frequently. Unfortunately, you see it a lot, and I think part of that is there's certain kids who don't have the right structure in place, or people that don't know what it really takes, right? So yeah, I think the biggest thing, and I'm sure you guys have heard this, but your attitude, your attitude is so important. Your mentality, how you treat your teammates, how you treat the game, and what I mean by that is, you know, are you giving the game everything you have, or are you expecting the game to be, giving you everything, the game to be about you, right? So I think mentality is unfortunately maybe very tough for some kids, but I've also seen some kids that have made it very far based on talent alone, and unfortunately, their career has ended because they don't have those mechanisms to persevere when times get tough.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Perseverance, resilience. Yeah, for sure. So important.
What advice would you give to young players who want to play Division 1 soccer?
Yeah, so love it, love the game. It's tough. The game is meant to be tough. Understand that you're doing something right if you're not always happy and satisfied with how your season is going, right? The advice is understand that trials, tribulations, challenges are part of the game. And so love that. Learn to love those moments too, because it's how you grow as a player and even as a person, you know? Um, Oof, this is probably a big one nowadays. Um, I love the fact that you're asking these questions, Liam. I love the fact that you're engaging because so many kids nowadays do not engage. They don't say hello. They don't shake hands anymore. It's such a simple way to connect with a coach. And I'll give you a quick example. I was at an event recruiting, scouting players, and there was a U14 game going on. And I'm like, oh, let me just stop here. Right? We can't recruit them, but I'm like, let me just stop. I'm watching. Kids are warming up. A kid is asked to go in. He takes his bib and he drops it, and the guys are still warming up. And his teammate that's warming up goes, picks up his bib, and brings it back to the bench. And that little thing, like that little action to me was like, holy cow, like he didn't have to do that. Why did he do that? That's awesome. So it's so much more than just soccer, but number one, love it. Expect the challenges, embrace the challenges, and then be personable. Be personable and communicate with coaches.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I think your coaches want, you know, for you to go to them with feedback
Oh
and
yeah,
to
yeah.
be able to talk to them for sure. How would you describe your coaching style and how do you adapt it to different players?
Ooh, that's a good one. So number one, it has to be a center player approach. So you are the most important as a coach. Players are the most important. You guys are all different, right? So we have to be able to adapt to your personalities. Whether it's, hey, coach, I don't like getting screamed at, or I work better in one-on-one conversation. Those cues as a coach help you massively because in order for Liam, and if you've never met me, how am I going to tell you to do something that's really difficult and you're gonna be like, I don't even know you, like, I mean, I'll do it, but if we cultivate a relationship, if there's communication between us and we get to know each other and I get to know you as a person, it's going to be a lot easier for you to trust me, and that's the biggest thing. And for me, I need to do that because my style of coaching, I'm very transparent, but I'm very demanding. I mean, detail oriented. Probably too much, but having a good relationship with your players and them knowing that what you're asking them to do is only going to benefit them, it goes such a long way. So detail orientated, I am demanding about details, and I'm very very passionate in the sense of if things aren't going well in the game, right? I'm going to encourage you, right? For me, the game is, hey, this is your time to shine. Don't let setbacks in the moment, right, dictate the rest of it. In training, I'm like, Liam, let's go. Like, this has to be better, or hey, you got to do this to find this solution. But I want our players to figure it out as well. So mistakes are good.
That's one thing that both Liam's dad and I like always talk to Liam about. Mistakes are going to happen. Like they
Mhm.
happen at every level. The pros make mistakes, but it's like how you react. Don't get frustrated, don't pout, just get right back in there, make it up. So, yeah, we're a big one for that. Right?
Yes.
What led you to Temple University and what excites you about coaching at the college level?
Yeah, so prior to Temple, I was head coach at a few different colleges, and it was D3. So I really enjoyed it, but I wanted to get back to a higher level of coaching, working with a bit of higher level players, and then being able to exercise my connections in the pros. I'm very fortunate. Um, Man, my time at Columbus, I started from the bottom. I mean, you're talking equipment, logistics, everything. Yeah, it was a blessing. But now from that staff that we worked with, I mean, one of the guys coaches at FC Dallas, at Austin as a head coach. One's a GM. One's in Chicago. Um, there's one in Columbia. I mean, I wanted to see if, hey, like, we're at the Division 1 level, can we help these players get to the pros, and using those connections, starting to exercise those where at the Division 3 level we weren't really getting pros, so I wasn't reaching out to those connections. So a little bit of that, and overall just college, because you get to develop players still. There's this development aspect that I love, and more so, like we talked about before, it might not be technical. It could be tactical, but it could also be just mental. Their approach to the game, their approach off the field, how they manage their time, how they manage themselves. All those things go a long way when you're trying to help a kid go to the next level.
Yeah, I'm sure that's awesome being able to like help kids move on in their pro career.
For sure, yeah, and it's a very small world, by the way. So that's why I'm saying, like, when you're out there playing, be social, like, don't be shy, and again, attitude, body language, that's massive, because we all of us talk.
Yeah, yeah. How important is body language?
Massive. Like, think about it. So, like, I'll give you an example, Liam. If I'm here and, like, I'm, like, disinterested, and I'm like, you're probably like, this guy's like, what's wrong with him, right? But yeah, it's massive. I mean, again, it's just what we notice. It's what we notice, and who wants to coach a kid who is demonstrating, selfish behavior, or just maybe going crazy on his teammates? Now, sometimes that happens fine, but if it's a pattern, it's like, no one wants to coach that kid, right? So it's massive. It's so important, so important.
At what age do you feel like that kid kind of gets weeded out? Like the one that's just like very selfish and not a team player, bad attitude.
Yeah, from a college recruiting standpoint, probably by the time he's 15, 15, yeah, 15, I would say. So it's yeah, because maybe there's no turning back at that point.
Yeah, for real. I mean, Liam's 11, gonna be 12, and I feel like it's so serious already.
How do you prepare players for a potential jump to the professional level?
Oh man, there's different ways, because let's see, we have, sometimes you have guys who have the tools, right? So let's say technically, physically, they're ready for the pro level, but maybe mentally they're not prepared because they might be immature. So working on their maturity through training, in terms of putting them through some challenges, like kind of poking the bear a little bit, seeing how they react, addressing it, and rehearsing it, doing it again. Now they might not know it, but you're pushing that, right? And then you're having conversations. You're having them talk to other pros as well, right? That's massive for them, because they're probably thinking, like, so being able to talk to people is a big one, and then just giving them tools to succeed at the next level, in terms of, hey, these are things to expect at the pro level, what time they get in, what their day looks like, working out their lift, right, their regen session, whatever it may be. Really trying to be as detailed as possible, and also have expectations for them. So I think it's there's different ways, because again, if it's the mental side, if it's the physical side, sometimes they just need to be pushed a little bit physically. And it's crazy what they do when they feel good and they see that they're doing well after feeling good. They want to continue that. So, yeah, I mean, there's different ways, but I think the biggest thing is you have to have a relationship with the guys. They have to be able to trust you, um, and be honest. Be honest with them. I think that goes a long way.
Hmm.
How many kids would you say move on from college to pros? Is it common? Is there a lot of kids doing that, or is there just like a select few that can really move on to the next level?
Yeah, when you think about it in percentages, I would say I think it's less than 2 to 3%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. So, and again, we are lucky enough to have the MLS, USL now, MLS Pro. So, I mean, that is helping the statistics for sure, and they're very good levels. I mean, they're very, very good levels. So, it's just not as common as people think, or maybe I shouldn't say that. It's not as easy as players think.
Does a pro team then look at someone playing in college? Are they like out at, is there scouts out at games? Are you guys contacting like the pro teams? Like, how does that universe happen?
Yeah, all of it, all of it. So, for example, we're based in Philly. Temple University is based out of Philadelphia, so we have the Union Scouts at a lot of our games, right? We call,
What a benefit for those kids.
yeah. So you're gonna have that. You're gonna have Red Bull Scouts going to, maybe some Fordham, Columbia. You're gonna have these scouts going to Rutgers, right, to watch those games. So yeah, and then we pick up the phone. We also call. We had a kid at Temple, a senior that just graduated, a goalkeeper. We called our connects in Ireland, first division. They invited him. Yeah, they invited him to try out. They liked him. They signed him. So yeah, so he'll hopefully play some Champions League. Yeah.
What qualities do you look for in a recruit, both on and off the field?
Yeah, so that's coach specifics. But for me, uh, on the field, extremely hardworking, a good communicator, a good teammate. Um, Off the field, humble, but confident. You know, yeah, humble and confidence, massive.
I feel
Someone
like
that's
that's
going
with
to,
anything in life, right? You love like someone that's humble, but they have, yeah, they have the confidence, but without being arrogant.
oh yeah, exactly. So that's the polar opposite. No, if you're arrogant, for me, it could be, eh, probably not going to talk for too much longer. But yeah, I think humble, confident, respectful, and this is big for college when we have recruits on campus, how they talk to their parents. I want to see that interaction. Yeah, so yeah, that goes a long way.
That really does. Yeah, if you have a kid that's, I guess, disrespectful and nasty for a lack of a better word, yeah, like, do you want that child on your team?
What common mistakes do young players make in the recruiting process?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think right now what we're seeing a lot is players are expecting coaches to pursue them rather than the player reach out and pursue the 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 team, the coach. Um, there's this attitude of what can they do for me rather than like what can I do for that team? How can I help that team? So there's this and it's a crazy little shift.
I was going to say, why do you think that is? Do you think like social media plays a role in that or?
Yeah, yeah. I think we're in the instant gratification generation, which is good, but at the same time, when it comes to team sports, it can really hinder the process. So I think those are things that are standing out a little bit more. Um, but yeah, I think that's one easy way to avoid not getting scouted or recruited is if you're expecting these coaches to come after you and or you're just kind of shooing away a coach because you don't think they're good enough for you. Um, yeah, so that's definitely something to think about.
What do kids do in the I mean, we're not there yet, but what do kids do? They narrow down their like top colleges they want to go to, and then they reach out to the soccer coaches.
Yeah, so it's interesting. You have to normally by your sophomore year, you should have an idea of what what you're interested in studying in college, right? From that, you can narrow down some schools that have that major. Also, location. Where do you want to live? Do you want to live in the city? Do you want to live in the suburbs? Do you want to live on the West Coast, East
Southern
Coast? Big
California.
school, yeah, yeah.
I
Big school,
mean,
small school, warmth, cold. So you just start narrowing that down, and from that, what I always tell young players is, go watch a Division 3 game, go watch a Division 2 game, go watch a Division 1 game, and you'll get to see the level live, and I think you'll be surprised. So yeah, that process happens normally their freshman, sophomore, junior years when you start really narrowing down the schools, talking to coaches, visiting the schools, doing your official visit overnight. They fly you in, or you go visit, all that stuff.
how active are you guys in recruiting? Are you guys constantly out looking at kids in high school, at the academies?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So tomorrow, for example, 10 a.m., I'll be watching Union versus Orlando City at
Wow.
Wisfis, so
Didn't
yeah,
expect that one, Holly.
so yeah, I'll be there tomorrow morning watching them play. So yeah, that's what typically happens. High school, not so much. We'll wait for showcases. High school's tough for us because we play in the fall. Yeah, so our season's in the fall, high school season in the fall here. But we'll go through showcases, and then again, the soccer community is so small, so there's word of mouth. Coaches talk all the time.
Like, hey, you have to go check out this kid. Even if, let's say, you're in Philly, do you hear about kids like in Texas and California? Is it that small? Like, hey, you have to go see this kid?
Oh yeah, I mean, I heard about Liam from Matt. It no, but it's yeah. But it happens organically like that. Matt, who's one of my best friends, he's like, hey,
Love
training
Matt.
a young kid from. He's awesome. He's
Such
the
an awesome
best.
dude.
Yeah, yeah. We've known each other for such a long time, but it happens, right? He's like, oh, he's from New York Red Bull. He just got. I'm like, oh, that's great. But in the back of our head, it's like, okay, we can't talk to him now, but if that name resurfaces, it's like, oh, there it is. So yeah, it just happens organically.
I love that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Good to know.
What are the biggest adjustments high school players need to make when they're transitioning to college soccer?
Oh man, the easiest one is time management. Time management, because you go from being in high school and your parents are either dropping you off, making you lunch, or
Very
taking care of
structured.
you. Yep. So you go to college and you're on your own. And you're gonna have so much time on your own that you're not gonna know what to do with it. So you need to manage your time well, and you need to structure it on your own. So that can get tricky sometimes if you don't have the resources to help you with that. But as long as you're good with managing your time, if you, no problem. Yeah, but that's the biggest one in terms of just college. But then obviously, from a playing standpoint, you're typically the best player on your team going into college, and so is the other kid, and so is the other kid on team, and so is the other kid on team. So now you're not the guy anymore. How do you become, number one, a good teammate, um, but how do you become effective in that environment? So typically it happens naturally as well. Not too many fights or anything like that, but that's an adjustment that they have to get used to, not being the main guy right away.
Especially for like the kids that come from a small town and they're like the big fish in a small pond. Like that's an adjustment too, right? What role does club soccer play in recruitment compared to high school soccer?
Massive. We are, just last summer reached out to your technical director about some players that we were pursuing. They ended up signing pro, but it's massive. I mean, the club soccer scene is big. So, and again, small world. So we're checking in with the club, talking about who we should look at. And the club directors, technical directors, do a good job of saying, "Hey, this could be a fit for you," because they know the area maybe or how you coach. So there's always constant communication. High school is tough because we are not really in communication with high school coaches because it's a massive pond. Like it is. The coaches are but the club scene is very very important for us. Yeah.
Are there any specific steps youth players should take outside of their regular training to improve?
Yeah, so I would say yes, as long as the player wants to. Like the player loves the game so much that they want to be out there. I think, like Liam, for you, one of the benefits right now, obviously, is going to be playing, just kicking the ball around and enjoying that. But knowing, again, the athlete, right? The athlete has good habits to help them physically, mentally, emotionally. But for example, I'm not going to tell Liam, "Hey, Liam, you should be powerlifting." But hey, if you want to get a performance coach to work with you in terms of technique, to give you an idea of what to look for in the future, it's fantastic. Like we're seeing that now where kids are learning what to expect and they're not it's not just a whoa culture shock anymore, you know. So there's a lot of benefit from that.
Is
um
that, not to interrupt you, is that something like what Matt does? I know Matt works with uh, like young kids and high school kids. Is that like what you're talking about?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. The idea is to introduce them to these habits, right? And in a holistic approach, again, it's just so you know, because once you get into the 14s, the 15s, the 16s, you're going to be doing school with the group and you're going to be doing in the performance center with the group. So having a base knowledge will be awesome, but I think that's important. That goes, I think it'll be a good introduction when you're younger. And then again, I always think you have to love it. So go out there, play. Listen, if you want to play basketball, play basketball. Play, have fun. Have fun, right? That whatever sport it is, as long as it doesn't harm you, as long as you're not exhausted to show up to practice and do well at what you love. But I think at this age, have fun, enjoy it. Like this is the time to enjoy it.
So Liam's 11, going on 12. You're U12.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is kind of, we're in that transitional period where next year is going to be even harder and more serious. So go, yeah, like you're saying, go out and enjoy it, have fun.
Do you play other sports?
No,
Is that just because you don't want to, or you just love soccer?
I just love soccer, and I don't want to play
That's
other
awesome.
sports.
So
That's awesome.
growing up, everyone was like, he needs to be in other sport, like it's like my mom and my dad, everyone's like harping on me, put him in other sports. But he never wanted to. He was so soccer focused. We started golf, so that's kind of like our outlet just to like relax. And I think right now we have like the one day a week where he just gets to be a kid or have his friend time, and but otherwise it's really soccer, focused.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and that's what it is. Whatever it is, just love it, right? So some kids need a different sport. Some kids don't, and that's awesome. Just love it. I mean, at least I believe in that.
This is going to be one of our final questions for you, just due to time. We'd love to sit with you longer. You have so much great information. So, the question is, what's your advice for players trying to get noticed? We kind of did an outlook over it, but basically, we can end with what's your advice for the young kids that do want to go next level?
Yeah, I think make yourself accessible. I mean, one of the things is a highlight reel of you playing, right? So moments like two good moments, the moments that you're doing well in. We want to see that's as a center back, you defending right has to be in there. But start to put together, a 3-4 minute highlight reel of your best actions, right? Defend of all parts of the game. So defending, attacking, defending into transition, into attack, attacking into defending. But yeah, little highlight reels are going to be good in the future. Stay away from weird TikToks though. If they're the coaches aren't watching TikToks, but they will watch a highlight reel.
I was going, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought that up because that was a question that I had was how important is the highlight reel versus you see so many kids now on social media putting out, their footage every day. Like yeah, how much is that being seen, like the social media?
Yeah, so I mean the TikTok stuff is great for you, right? Like that's your thing. Like do it, right? You love it, do it. But coaches aren't watching TikToks. They're more they want to focus on the game, you in game moments, rather than players juggling or doing tricks. Now, again, if I'll give you an example. I've gotten in the past, hey coach, check out my highlights, and I've gotten highlights of just tricks. And I'm like, well, I don't need this. I
You're
don't
like,
need
that is
this.
so great, but
Yeah. Yeah, it's great, but I don't need this. So yeah, I mean that's good for you to have, right? Because it's cool and it gives you something to do, and it's kind of like competition between friends now, like who can do, like it is. Um, but
everyone has like Instagram or TikTok
Yeah.
and putting everything out there on it. Yeah.
definitely highlights of you playing, like definitely that we definitely need that. And a piece of advice is your grades. Your grades are go a long way. Um,
Mhm.
yeah,
Great job.
especially, but especially in college. So again, players have different pathways, right? It's not linear, which means a straight line, right? Like you don't develop like this. The development is like a squiggle and like it goes crazy. There's ups, there's downs, right? Um, but for the players that need the college level experience to get to the pros, or just in general, your GPA, oh man, that can add a lot of money to your scholarship. And that's like a different story,
Yeah, that's a
but
whole, yeah, we could spend time
yeah,
just talking on like that
yeah.
alone. But I'm glad
But
that you
grades is
said
big.
that because that's one thing that we talk about every day, even though we have A's and B's. But I'm glad he heard it from you and not just mom over here.
Yeah, yeah, it's super important. It's massive. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Oh my God, it's so awesome to have you here. Just the insights and advice that you provided today is invaluable.
I'm I'm so happy to sit and chat, and I'm excited to see what happens in the next 5 years. Where Liam's going to be playing. You know, so no, but this was awesome, and hopefully it was helpful.
Oh gosh, it was for sure
Hmm.
helpful. Don't you agree, Lee?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we'll talk to you soon, John. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Okay,
See ya.
bye bye.
Bye.